The book one was about the books that I read for the last 40 years. And today I have my special guest. He's a master practitioner of NLP, hypnosis, mental emotional release, and ancient Hawaiian healing arts practitioner, none other than Mr. Thomas Wurm.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here with you all and just ready to dive in. This is great.
Yes, welcome, Mr. Thomas on Book 101 Review. And can you please introduce more about yourself? That I miss.
Yeah, absolutely. So, my journey started, I was actually a wildland firefighter with the Forest Service for 14 years. And so, uh, this is a very different realm than, where I came from. I really spent a long time in the wilderness, in the middle of fires, worked my way up from the ground all the way to a captain and in my own journey of post-traumatic stress and health and the alternative healing through acupuncture and actually NLP is one of the things that really saved me. So this is where my journey turned to help other people is I found what was working for me.
To help other people is empowering advocacy, Mr. Thomas. And thank you so much for doing that to the world. Thank you for sharing your knowledge and wisdom. Wow. So today let's talk about alternative therapy and trauma release. So,
Absolutely.
in the context of trauma, what does the alternative therapy mean to you and the core limitation of conventional talk therapy does it seek to address?
Yeah, so it's such a great question because I think a lot of people have come to me with they'll start with I've been in therapy for maybe 10 years. I just feel so stuck still and I don't understand why. And and from maybe from a neurolinguistic programming perspective, which is let's break that down a little bit, is our neurology or neuro, like our mind, our brain, our nervous system, and our linguistics, our language patterns and our programming. From an NLP perspective, that the talking through the trauma over and over and over again can actually make it go deeper. Where from an NLP perspective, we may want to change the picture around it or change like the colors, the focus to actually change the picture. So, or even step out of the picture, so you're not associated or you're not like re-experiencing it, right? And then work with processing it somehow. So it's just a different way of looking at trauma and looking at more from a somatic or where the trauma is stored in the body. This is so powerful because great books like Body Keeps the Score is so prevalent in this field.
Yes, indeed. And Mr. Thomas, how do you explain the concept that trauma is not just remembered by the mind, but stored and enacted by the body and nervous system?
Yeah, I think I would go back to Peter Levine's work in Taming the Tiger, which is such a fantastic read. And so the way he explains it is that typically, like he talks about animals on the Serengeti. So like a gazelle that's chased by a lion, right? And a
Yes.
gazelle typically is going to be eating grass, having a nice day, and then the lion comes and there's this fight, flight, or freeze response. And so when the lion grabs onto the gazelle, it actually plays dead, right? It's like it's hoping that the lion gets bored or sees something else and lets go. So it plays dead. And what he saw out in the field and what he wrote about is that if the lion would leave, the gazelle would get up and go through this like intense shaking for 2 to 3 minutes. And then it would just run off and, it'd go and eat grass and be totally fine. And what was so powerful when I read that book was about how humans, we have this really hyper advanced like neural frontal cortex where we make decisions. And the thing is, it's such a powerful part of our brain, but it also gives us the power to shut off that process. And so it's almost as if that shaking never happened and it gets stuck in the body. And so we want to connect with that shaking aspect of really moving it out of the body because it's almost it's stuck in the electricity or the nervous system, right?
Yes,
Mhm.
it go through it. If the goal shift from managing symptoms or revisiting the story to releasing trauma, how does that fundamentally change the therapeutic approach of the client's role?
Yeah, so here's I would say the biggest thing is looking at trauma from two ways. One is that maybe part of the mind is like stuck and it's repeating the picture or the movie over and over and over again, which makes the body, our body doesn't really know if it's a dream or if it's real life or it's just imagining something. So it's almost as if the mind is imagining this event over and over, which means the body thinks it's there still. So there's an aspect of the mind that's stuck, but also maybe from more of a energy healing perspective, that the energy, like there's a piece of your consciousness that's stuck in that time as well. And so my approach when I work with clients is that we want to do a process where we let go of the root cause, because the trauma is actually not the major problem. It's something deeper. There's a root cause, something in childhood that made the trauma get so associated and so powerful. So you want to go to the root cause and then work with the movie, the stuck pictures, and then actually work with the energy and recall the person's energy back to now, come back into wholeness. And you'll often hear how trauma survivors feel like they're out of their body or they're super, the other term for you might hear is like disassociated. It's because like their mind, their body's all scattered, their energy's scattered. So we want to bring all of it back to wholeness. Does that answer your question?
Yes, indeed. Back to the wholeness. It's so
Mm.
awesome. It's so famous. Why are somatic practices often more effective than cognitive ones for assessing and discharging traumatic stress that feels stuck?
Yeah. So one of the things is that we may get like we have so many stories and so many patterns of thinking around trauma or around an event or around someone or something, and so there's all these stories that keeps our mind going and going and going. And actually it's a trick of the mind because it's doing that so you don't actually look at the trauma, right? And so there's kind of a, I would say, the somatic process is so powerful because you, instead of going through the stories, you just go into the sensations of the body. What's the body feeling? Because the body and mind are so connected that the body is actually a map of the mind, and the mind is a map of the body. So we're using the body to go into the mind for healing, and vice versa. So is so connected, and it's all about the sensations, like a classical kind of Buddhist psychology perspective with mindfulness and feeling the sensations instead of telling the stories. And this allows the sensations to begin moving, to unlock. And this is one of the major secrets of somatic healing. And this is where a lot of the qigong that I also do is so powerful.
Yes, they said Qigong is so powerful, so try it, people. Why not? So, could you walk us through a simplified example of one specific modality you use, experiencing or say, certain breath work, as you said, Qigong, guided traumatic imagery, and describe the mechanism of release?
Yeah, so I would love to speak to mental emotion release. It's a very specific process that we use with NLP, and so this is basically we ask the unconscious mind to get in touch with the timeline in relation to the body, and so everybody has a timeline, and we simply allow the client to imagine the timeline, and we work with major emotions like anger or sadness or fear, and we asked the unconscious mind to go to the root cause, the very first time this person, the client, experienced anger. And so, we're open, right? We're a little bit more alternative. So we're open to maybe it's 2 years old, maybe it's during birth, which is super common, or past life, or genealogical, or something a lot deeper than you would expect. And so the way this works is that we take the mind from now through a visualization back to the past, to this very first event, and we're not going into it, but we're looking at it from a higher perspective, and we're changing the time perspective. So we're changing the time from now, or we're changing the time, excuse me, from the past, right? We're taking the mind from now and taking it into the past. And there's this time perspective change, and the unconscious mind unlocks the lesson. So there's a lesson here that frees the person's mind from the pain, from the major emotion, and the emotion releases. And then it's not just that one event, it's the root cause plus all of the other events connected to it. So this is extremely powerful because we're not just releasing one event of anger, we're releasing all of them. And this is where we come back along the timeline, and basically, maybe from a more quantum physics perspective, is we're kind of rewiring their timeline all the way back to now.
Well, that be empowering answer, Mr. Thomas. Truly, truly empowering. Before any release can happen, you must establish somatic safety. What does that process look and feel like for a client? Why it is a non-negotiable first step?
Oh, it's such a powerful question. It's so important. And so the number one thing is really grounding the energy. Like we talked about, some clients can feel really disassociated or out of their body. And it's really important to be in the body, to be grounded, and to have that doing some gentle breath work and breathing into the body and having that somatic safety is so critical. You have to feel safe, and that's something I really focus on when I'm working with clients, is to make sure that they feel safe enough to let something go. Because that's you're right. This is step one. We have to feel safe enough in the therapeutic environment to actually let this stuff go.
And Mr. Thomas, the release of energy or emotion is one of phase, or is one of the phase. What does the crucial next phase of integration involve, and how do you support clients in making a meaning and embodying new patterns afterward?
I love this. So really looking at, I would say there's kind of a formula that I work with. And the first step, as you said, is release work, is letting go, this breakthrough session or energy release work. And then the next step is creating a compelling vision for your life. And so that takes some journaling. There's a process I run my clients through called an avatar, aim, and SMART goals. So it's this long-term journaling project where we're getting a really clear view of who do you want to be, what do you want to do, and what do you want to have. And this is so important because we're taught in our society, especially in Western culture, to we're kind of human doings, and we need to come back to human beings first. Like, who do I want to become? What do I want to be doing with my life? And what do I want to have? And all of that coming from a being state. And then journaling through like SMART goals and getting very clear goals. And then it's up to the client to take action and focus on those goals. And as soon as we start taking those actions going forward, of course, there's going to be things are going to come up, right? And it's going to be kind of a up and down rhythm and cycle of elevating. And so there's a bit of, I would say, work to this, right? And the integration is work on taking the lessons you've learned and applying them over and over and over again. And this is how we really climb the ladder of empowerment.
Well, empowerment indeed. We need that, Mr. Thomas. Empowerment, empowerment. And could you share a title of a book that profoundly influenced your understanding and trauma and healing? And what was most pivotal insight you took from it shapes your work today?
Yeah, absolutely. I think the one of the most important books I've read that really tie into what I do is called The Biology of Belief by Bruce Lipton. And Bruce was a biologist for a very long time, and he taught medical students in the universities all over. And he was doing a lot of studies on stem cells and wanted to understand how stem cells worked. And what happened is that he took specific stem cells that were the same and put them in different dishes, But then he changed the environment, so kind of like the liquid around the cell. And then he noticed, wait a minute, this cell became like a lung cell, and this one became a heart cell, but it was the same stem cell. So he kept investigating, and through his investigations, he discovered epigenetics and how basically the environment around the cell is actually more it's really important to the cell genetics, to the DNA. That he actually found that when we apply this to the human body, we're kind of looking at the blood as the environment, and that our mind affects our blood and our physiology so much that our brain in a way is taking the pictures in our mind and decoding them into chemistry, into our biomarkers. And so when we look at internal stress, like our emotions, our thoughts, our thinking, this actually has a major impact on our physical health. And this is the biology belief, epigenetics. This is the hard science to really prove that. And Bruce Lipton, what he talks about is when he realized it in the lab, it's as if he felt an electrical shock, like it was a divine moment for him, and it completely changed his life. And for me, reading that book was so eye-opening, and it gave me that scientific backing to be really confident in how the mechanism of alternative healing works.
Mr. Thomas, as a master practitioner, what are your short term and long term goals?
Yeah, my goals is I'm back in school right now, actually in college, and I'm working towards I'm almost done with my bachelor's and going into a master's program for clinical mental health, and so that's one of my major goals right now. And also, I would say more long term is really teaching more of the Huna energy healing, and opening up my own clinical mental health practice eventually. So a lot more teaching, a lot more workshops, really making more impact, working with groups.
Good luck to your goals, Mr. Thomas. I'm looking forward for more success. And what will be your piece of advice for those people out there who want to be like you?
Yeah, I would say it really starts in your heart. Like you just have to listen to your heart and follow that calling, whatever your heart is calling you to do. I would say listen to it, especially now in our world. It's so important to come back to who you are and not let the outside world tell you who you should be, but come back to your heart and be you, be authentic, be and do what lights you up. Do what lights you up and follow your heart.
Yes. Be you, people. Be authentic. That you are you. Thank you for that advice, Mr. Thomas. And can you please again recommend a book or books that influence your journey for the second time around?
Yeah, let's see. Another book that I would say really changed my life. I would say this one's more personal, but the book Siddhartha by Herman Hesse. I read that book when I was probably about 15, and it really opened my whole world up to spirituality. To it made me so curious. Like, what did Siddhartha go through? What did this river of change, this river of I guess spirits, if you would, that he experienced during his enlightenment in that book. And that book really opened me up to there's something more to this reality than just what we see, and it really had a profound impact on me.
Yes, again, thank you for that recommended book, Mr. Thomas. Reclaiming agency. How does this approach help a person move from feeling defined by their trauma to being an active agent in their own healing?
Oh, I love this. This is great, and this comes back to a really specific idea in NLP, or neuro linguistic programming. And this idea, you've heard of cause and effect, as if we push a big block and the block moves, or kind of this Newtonian physics idea that about inertia and things like this. But from an NLP perspective, it's really about being a cause or an effect of your life, of uh, coming back to the idea that, wait a minute, maybe I'm causing this internal pain, maybe I'm causing this internal stress. And I'm going to tie it back to kind of what Bruce Lipton and the epigenetics biology of belief is the environment is super important, but actually what's even more important is your interpretation of the environment. So it's our interpretation, our projections, our what we think is going on around us in our environment. That's actually the interpretation is everything. And so what I'm getting at is when we come back to cause, it's wait a minute, I'm creating this problem. That means I can undo this problem. And once we get there, everything starts to change. And so being at cause of your life. And to me, this comes back to another aspect of, what I always tell clients, when they go forward in life is, you're in charge of your mind, therefore your results. That's it. That's the secret to life. You're in charge of this thing. You're in charge. You are in charge of your mind, therefore your results.
What is one simple somatic self regulation tool you give to almost every client for use in a daily life?
Yeah, one of the best practices. It comes from mindfulness-based stress reduction or mindfulness-based cognitive therapy techniques, and it's really called a 3-minute breathing space. And all it is simply throughout your day, maybe 2 or 3 times, it's just taking 3 minutes to sit down or lay down even and just do deep breathing and just to kind of scan the body, like to let go of any thoughts and just feel into your body and just, because the everyday life, like all the distractions and phones and screens and all they're kind of pulling us out of our body, but we just want to take 3 minutes to breathe, to come back into our body and just feel what's happening for me right now. Not trying to fix anything, not trying to do anything with it, just breathing, feeling the body, and what's happening for me right now. That's it.
Yes. Breathe. People breathe. Relax and take a deep breath. And Mr. Thomas, before we wrap up our discussion for today, I'm inviting you to please do listen to my other podcast, people. My other podcast, because my abstract essay is already in fifth season, abstract poetry in second season, and my book 101 review in fifth season too, comedy 101 in third season, and my food 101 in fifth season as well, geography 101, love letters, movie 101 review, music 101, our fourth season, science 101, sex 101 in its second season, and my baby podcast, Law 101, Mental Health 101, and Bible Verses 101. Please listen to them wherever you listen your podcast. So, Mr. Thomas, tell us, if you could leave our audience with one liberating truth about healing from trauma, one of the challenges that common green and bear it or just get over it or narratives, what would it be?
Mm. I think the truth is that our traumas is our it's our greatest strength, and it actually becomes our power when we overcome the trauma and we actually integrate the lessons. It may become part of your purpose in life to give back somehow or to feel your purpose in life somehow through that trauma on the other side of it. And oftentimes I'll explain that, I think the most empowering thing to do is transform our trauma into power.
Yes. Transform trauma to power. That'd be awesome. And Mr. Thomas, thank you so much for sharing your knowledge and wisdom with us. Anything you can invite our listeners to support your business, your advocacy, or whatever projects that you're doing right now.
Absolutely. Thank you. And so you can find me at mountainmindmastery.com. You can find me at Mountain Mind Mastery on Instagram. And I have a weekly men's group on Monday nights and all sorts of workshops and Qigong classes, lots of offerings. So please check out the website. I look forward to meeting all of you. Thank you.
Yes, yes, people, let's support Mr. Thomas Wurm, because if you support him, for sure, more and more empowering advocacy like this to come. So, Mr. Thomas, Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome, people. See you